This podcast is hosted on podhome.fm, the most modern podcast hosting platform. Podhome offers unlimited episodes and podcasts, and unlimited use of Podhome AI, which generates transcripts, clips, chapters, title suggestions, show notes, and much more. And all of that for just $15.99 a month or $185 per year. That's a steal. So go to podhome.fm and start your 30-day trial now. And enjoy the show with Joe.
Transmitting live from the Asylum Studios deep in the bowels of Southwest Texas. It's the Joe Rooz Show. The show where we talk about anything and everything. Where nothing is sacred, nothing is watered down, and nothing is PC.
Alrighty, well, hey folks, this is Joe Rooz, and it is great to be with you guys once again, transmitting live, of course, from the Asylum, and as always, doing the very best we can to bring you the best quality talk radio we could muster without all the bluster. Welcome to the show, guys. I hope you guys had a great week so far. I hope everything's going well for you. We have a really, really interesting guest tonight. This is a return victim, I guess you want to call it, to the show. I don't know, but we have she's a great guest, and really looking forward to talking to her tonight. We'll be talking about creativity, storytelling, publishing, and what it takes to build a successful career around imagination. My guest is an award-winning author, publisher, and podcast host, Tricia Copeland. She also writes contemporary romance under the pen name of Maria Jane. So settle in, grab some coffee, and we're going to get started here just in a moment as we take care of some of the usual housekeeping that we do. So if you would, folks, please head over to our website, joerooz.com. That's joerooz.com. And when you get over there, please make sure you look for that contact form. It's in the upper right corner of the website there, the little pancake thingy. Just open that thing up. Got a contact form in there. Fill it out. Send us over any questions, comments, cares, or concerns that you might have. Maybe you have a question about a guest. Maybe you'd like to suggest a guest or a topic of discussion for the show. You might even have a complaint, which you really shouldn't, but you might. You can send it all to us there as well. And you know, honestly, if you're anything like me, you're not going to like to use the web form because of the stupid CAPTCHA stuff, right? The match the crosswalks, to find the bus, the car, and all that junk. You can always email us directly, though, at info@joerooz.com. That's info@joerooz.com. Or a novel idea, you could use the comment section right down there below on Rumble, and of course on YouTube. If you're still watching the show on YouTube, you can do it there as well. All right. Also, please don't forget that this is a live show, weeknights, 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern. And don't forget also our Sunday show every Sunday afternoon at 2 p.m. Central Time as well. Our Sunday Bible study. Make sure you check that show out as well. And also, incredibly important, remember, like, subscribe, and share the show with your friends, your family, and your followers. Because when you do that, you help the show get found. It's all about the algorithm, folks. All about the algorithm. So make sure that you do that as well. All right. Well, with all of that said, tonight's connection is brought to us courtesy of Creative Edge. Creative Edge, publicity at its finest for all creatives. Your brand, your future. All right. Now, tonight, we are talking with Tricia Copeland, an award-winning author who writes fantasy under her own name and then contemporary romance under the pen name Maria Jane. Through her romance novels, she explores relationships, personal growth, self-discovery, and the realities of modern dating and love. She also is the host of Finding the Magic podcast, where she interviews authors and dives into the craft of storytelling. Well, tonight, we're going to be focusing on the Maria Jane side of her career and the stories that connect with romance and readers around the world. Tricia, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Joe.
It's great to have you again.
Good to be here.
A glutton for punishment.
Yeah, that was interesting. I'm your next victim.
Yes. A returning victim. So I must be doing something right. I don't know.
Why did it make someone nervous right off the bat?
But you shouldn't be, because you've been here before. You know how we roll. We're decent people. We're not crazy.
Oh, good.
We look like we're the pit of hell right now, but we're not. you know, but that's okay. That's okay. So, so most people know you as Tricia Copeland, but you have a romance audience as well, and they know you as Maria Jane. So why create a separate pen name instead of putting everything under one brand?
Right. Well, it's really author's choice. I mean, some authors choose to keep their name, the same name, no matter what genre they write, but many authors will choose to have a pen name. And for me, it was just, I didn't want readers from my YA fantasy series it's a clean series. You don't get much more than kisses because my characters are 16. And I didn't want a reader that's maybe a 13-year-old reader just jumping into this other book because they saw the same name and thought, oh, I'm sure this is fine. Well, they might think it's fine, but their parents may not think it's fine.
True.
So I just wanted a little differentiation there. So if someone was jumping from book to book, they wouldn't just automatically jump into something that might not be appropriate or might not be something they would want to read.
I got you. Is that a common practice in the author world?
It is, yes. And I took a little while to choose my name, but it wasn't too hard. My grandmother, whose name was Jane, huge romance reader. I can remember sitting in front of the TV watching like the soap opera shows with her when she was ironing when I was young. And then my sister's name is Marie, so I just jumped on the Maria Jane. So those were two big influences in my life, and it was neat to honor them in that way. So
it was kind of written in the stars for you to have that type of name for your romance side. That works.
Right,
that's great.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Now, before you published your first romance novel, what was your relationship like with the genre as a reader?
I didn't read that much romance. I was more into reading fantasy. I would watch romance movies, like rom-coms, I guess, more, but I didn't really read them as much as I watched them. But that's how my brain tends to think. Even when I'm writing, I'm seeing the characters in my head, and and definitely when I first started, I was just writing like I was writing a movie script, and really had to learn how to write in paragraphs and not just all dialogue. But
Sure.
I really see my characters that way and see the scenes playing out in my head. So I just have, from watching movies, I guess I had a lot of background in romance.
Yeah, sorry about the little Microsoft sounds. I just stepped on something by accident. So
I didn't hear them. So.
You didn't? Okay, great.
No,
Maybe,
yeah.
Hopefully nobody else did too. So we'll find out. Somebody's going to leave a comment someplace. Stop playing with your stuff while you're talking to guests. Guarantee it. Guarantee it. 'Cause that's the way my people roll. But now, I guess when did fantasy or when did romance start becoming something that you considered writing?
I think my fantasy gets really intense, for lack of better. And I thought, I want to keep writing, but I wanted to write something lighter. And I wanted it to be a lighter experience because I get so engrossed with my characters. And then even though it's YA fantasy, they still face, evil monsters and witches and vampires, and they get themselves in these situations where they might not come out alive, and some of them die. And I get really engrossed in that and really, emotionally just charged and overwhelmed. And so I thought, if I can keep writing, but write something lighter that's a romance where, the worst thing that's going to happen to you is the guy just isn't that into you.
Okay, fair enough. But do you think that, do you fall back into the romance writing when you feel like maybe you've hit a wall, or maybe you feel like kind of dry on the fantasy subject matter?
I was really right. No, I was really previously I was really trying to do one fantasy book, one romance book, so that I was keeping all of my readers having a steady, if they liked only romance and they were going to read only romance, I was keeping my readers getting a steady flow of new books. And the same for the fantasy. Now I finished my fantasy series last summer, so I feel like I'm like more on a romance roll now, just looking for what comes next for me in fantasy. So I think I'll have a couple of romances come out in the next year or two.
All right. Now, between the two genres, which one feels more natural for you?
Fantasy feels more natural, interestingly. When I first started thinking I was going to write a romance, it was hard for me. And because I didn't want it just like the sweet rom-com, boy meets girl, maybe boy falls or girl falls. And, there's some conflicts where they can't be together. And then they decide, oh, that was a misunderstanding. And everything's ends up happily ever after. I think I wanted it to be a little more deep. And, I say I wanted a break from deep, and then I jump in and say, well, I can't have it all vanilla. So my first romance, Perfect, is an alternate ending romance. And I set it up so that you see different versions of her life as she makes different choices. So it starts in college and she's dating her high school sweetheart and he proposes and she says, yes, happily ever after, right? And then we go into section or part 2 and then she decides, wait, do I want to live in a small town and marry a horse rancher? Maybe I don't want to. So she decides, no, that's not the person for her. And so she finds, she meets another person and she says yes to him. And then, so it kind of, and I intended it so that readers could choose which story they like best or what they thought fit the character best. But it's interesting to hear feedback of some of the readers said, oh yeah, she ended up with a guy in the end. And I was like, did she? Did it say that? Because at the very end, I have a wedding ceremony, which, nice. For a lot of romance readers is, the ultimate in the romance
sure.
scenes. But I said, really? Does it say his name? Does it give any indication of who he is? And then they think about it for a minute and think, oh, no, it really didn't. So, yeah.
That's wild. So now, 10 years ago, if somebody would have come to you and said that you'd have written a dozen or more books, hosting a podcast, would you have ever believed them?
No, because I was surprised at myself. Like my background is in science. I was a researcher, a technical writer. For a long time, I never liked writing. I finally learned how to do writing in my graduate program, did technical writing. But never thought of myself as a creative person. And then I was home with my kids when they were young. And I think my brain just needed more than I was getting. And that's when I started writing. And it just kind of blossomed from there. I became a little bit obsessed.
Now, we know you do a podcast. We talked about it on the last time you were on the show with us, Finding the Magic. So tell us, how's it going? How's the podcast going? Because you've interviewed lots of authors on your show.
I have, yeah.
So how's that been going for you?
It's crazy. I release 2 episodes a week, so on Tuesdays and Fridays. I do pre-record, so I'm not bold enough to get the schedule and go live. But I'm filled up for the season, so it's super fun to talk to all of these authors. And I talk to authors everywhere from, I had a 13-year-old author, her first self-published book, up to, A-list Penguin Random House authors. So wow. I love it. I love talking to all of them.
So what separates a successful author from ones that never really seem to gain any traction?
And I don't ask them that question. I don't ask them if they feel successful. And I think success is different for everyone, depending on if you really want to get that publishing deal with one of the big houses. And when I do talk to those authors, it takes them 2 or 3 years to, either hone their book and get all the edits right, or get the right market, or till that book type of genre becomes popular, or more. It can take longer than that to get an agent and then find a publisher. So it's that some of it's the patience factor, but some people just want to write and just want to share their books for whoever will listen to or whoever will read them.
Yeah, I can understand that, because there are folks, especially in the podcasting world, that not really interested in metrics, not really interested in numbers or what the industry standard of success would be. They're there just to express their opinion on something, or just to have a conversation. maybe tread on areas that nobody else wants to. And I think that's important too. I mean, like you said, not everybody measures success the exact same way, and so I totally understand that. I look at it myself too, and what I'm doing. We have a decent sized audience. I appreciate them, and they're fantastic. Would I love to be a Joe Rogan? Yeah, sure. Who wouldn't? Especially with the money that comes with it. But yeah, the reality of it is not everybody's going to be that top level, top 10, author, the top 10 podcast, the top 10 personality anywhere. So I think you have to be realistic in where you set your goals as far as what you want to define your success to be. So I agree with you. That's a great point. It's fantastic. So a lot of people kind of dismiss romance as, the quote unquote, they're just love stories. What do they misunderstand about the genre in and of itself?
I think for romance, a lot of readers, and myself included, read it because that it's going to end up happily ever after, right? So you're going to have that feel good at the end. And then, and it depends on what kind of romance you're reading too, because romantasy is very popular right now. So you're in a fantasy world, but the main plot line is, will they end up together, right? And will they get there happily ever after? And some people, there's everywhere from sweet romance where you just have one kiss at the end to erotica where you have all of the above. Right. And so, yeah, I think it's just, and if you're in that contemporary romance, which mine are contemporary, then you're seeing maybe reflections of people that or people that seem similar to maybe your friend. So you might spend, if you're listening to an audiobook or if you're reading a book, you might spend 8 to 10 hours with these characters and really get to know them and kind of have that and an escape as well too. So this is not my life, but I can read someone else's life and their problem will be fixed and it'll feel good, right?
Yeah. So then what makes a believable romantic relationship on the page versus one that, feels kind of forced or unrealistic?
That's the hardest thing, especially with my latest book, because it's called Perfect Secrets. So there are a lot of secrets, obviously. And even though it's a first person book, the characters don't tell you their whole backstory. And so you find out things as you go along. And I got to the point where I thought, oh, wow, are these characters like realistically going to come back together after everything that happened? And I think I pulled it off. Most of my readers have come back, and I have beta readers and newsletter ARC readers, and they've come back and said, okay, yes, that works. So, but yeah, I think there are some situations where you have to make sure it's realistic to the character and it's not too Cinderella, dream in the sky, because if a reader says, wait, that person would never do that, they would never go back to that guy after XYZ happens, then I think you can go too far with that.
Yeah, I think so too. I agree with you. But romance is consistently one of the biggest selling genres in publishing. Why do you think people gravitate toward those stories more than others?
I don't know. I mean, I like it because, I can spend I drive an hour each way to work. So, I've gone between different genres, and I do like listening to a good fantasy and a good fantasy series. But some reason I come back to romance because it's easy, it's light. I usually don't cry, which is not good before you go to work, So, and it's an escape for a couple of hours. Yeah, that would look really weird when I got to work. But, and if it starts getting too deep, I'm like, okay, on to the next.
No, I get you. I think my opinion, my personal opinion is that people like those kind of stories more because 99.9% of the time there's a happy ending. There's a happy resolution to it. And with so much negativity always around us, surrounding us everywhere we go, I think people are looking for positivity. They're looking for something good, something to put a smile on their face for a change.
Yeah, my husband sent me this podcast the other day, and it was supposed to be like really interesting, and it ended up being about this ex-CIA operative, and I was like, why is this good? She's talking about terrorism and the threat of terrorism. Like, I mean, she was a really interesting person, but it wasn't what I wanted to listen to.
Maybe that's what he thought was good. The fact that the information that was being passed on.
It was good information. Yeah, not information that I really want to think about.
Well, I don't know. Maybe you could take something like that and kind of weave it into a romantic story.
He was helping me. So yes, he was helping me.
There you go. So you got to help a brother out,
I am more the ostrich type personality. Like I don't want to know. Like, okay, there may be many threats out there, but I just don't want to know.
I get you too. I mean, I love politics. I love dipping into it. I love all the intrigue that surrounds it. But there does come a point where it's like, all right, it's enough. I can't do it anymore. And you have to step away from it, which I have. I've actually shut off a lot of the news right now. I just don't want to hear it anymore. I'm just tired of it. But when it comes to the writing, how much psychology do you have to understand to write a convincing character in a relationship?
I guess a little bit, but I think everybody understands people falling in love. They understand, attraction or maybe we don't maybe nobody understands attraction because there's that element that is chemistry and I don't know fate or whatever you call it, but I think everybody's been in love, so it's just how do you weave those components together so that people enjoy experiencing it or are surprised or wowed a little bit.
No, I get that. I get you. Now, for the folks that are listening or watching that have never read a Maria Jane novel, where should they start?
They can start anywhere. All of these books are standalones. The first book does introduce most of the characters that you see in the other books. So the series is set around a group of friends that went to University of Kentucky in Lexington, and each book follows one of the friends' romances or lack or trial at romance. And so, like I said, the first book is Chloe's romance, but it's this alternate ending. And then the second book, Perfect Always, tells her ultimate story. And then the next book is Bree, and that book is As Close to Perfect. And then Perfect Office Pact is a character called Mira, and that one's a dual POV. So Mira and Declan both have their voices in that, which is the first book I did that way. So it was fun to get the male perspective in that book. And then Perfect Secrets is that way as well. It's a dual POV.
How many romance books have you written so far?
5.
Okay. So this is all part of one series.
Right.
What's the latest one you're working on?
So Perfect Secrets just came out this week. So June 2nd it was released. Thank you. And then I'm working on the next one, of course. I'm obsessed with writing, so just keep going.
How many books do you crank out? I mean, that doesn't sound crass, rather.
No, like I said, obsession. The first 3-4 years I was publishing, I was writing 3 books a year. So writing an hour and 2 every day. But now it's just been one. I guess last year was 2 books, and this year it will just be 1 book. So.
I guess that's not crazy. I mean, I've
1 book a year is kind of normal. 3 books a year is a lot.
Well, I was going to say, I was talking to an author not too long ago who said that they put out 3 to 4 books a year, and I'm like, wow. I mean, do you do anything else? I mean. Because there's a lot of research that goes into these books. I mean, whether it's fantasy, whether it's romance, or you're building a world, and you have to research that. You have to study that thing out and plan it out. So that takes a lot of time. I'm sure that doesn't just pop into your head like in a dream or anything like that. I mean, it might. I don't know, but you know what I'm saying. It takes time to work these things out. It's not something that you could just plan out. So I mean. You have to have something else going on in your life to crank out 4 books in a year. I think that's great, but that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. But if you think about it, I mean, all the time that you're doing like menial chores, whether it's mowing the grass or washing the dishes or washing the clothes or cleaning your toilet, right? That's all time your mind can be spending thinking up, the next scenario, the next scene.
Right.
the next challenge for all of those characters. So that for me, I tell my husband, I think about it when I'm driving. He's like, that's not the best thing. You should focus on the road. I'm like, well, it's just like listening to a book. It's just creating a book in my head. So, yeah.
Right. You're not sitting there on your phone and scratching something out on a tablet or a notepad
Right.
next to you
Yeah.
while you're driving. You can multitask. I think that's not outside the realm of reality.
Right. And I wish I could remember this woman's name, but she was a fantasy author. She wrote one book a month, like a full length novel, and she released one a month. But she had this team of like 9 editors. Well, I think there were 9 editors, and then she had like a couple formatters, and she had a cover person, and her readers would tell her what they wanted next in the series, and she would write it like the
That's
next
interesting.
month. And she was just this machine, and I was super impressed. I mean, she talked about having Excel spreadsheets, and every scene from every book was in the Excel spreadsheet, and so her editors can go back and fact check to make sure like all the worlds were right, the timeline, the characters, all of those things. And she said, yeah, I spend 8 hours in her little writing cave a day, and I was blown away.
I don't know what to say to that.
I know.
I really don't. I really don't. That's crazy. But anyway, so your books focus on self-discovery alongside romance. Why is that combination important?
For me, I think, and these are books of people in their young 20s mostly. So that age, I feel like you're just discovering who you really are, who you really want to be. And so to find your perfect match, you have to know those things a little bit first.
Sure.
And people have different paths or different timelines for that. And depending, age, path in life, or all of those other things. But so I like having those elements in the book, because I think it really mimics real life, like what we're experiencing at that time. And I like seeing how my characters develop too. Like sometimes I don't know like which way they might go, or I really have to think about how they're going to react and if they change their reaction over the course of the book.
Now when you talk about your characters and how they develop, do they typically just arrive in your mind fully formed, or do they kind of reveal themselves as you're writing?
They definitely reveal themselves as I'm writing. I don't have very detailed outlines. I usually know the major plot points for the story. I know, well, you want it to end as the happily ever after, right? So that's given in a romance book. But I usually know like some of the main challenges that my characters are going to face. But then as I'm writing, I come up with the scenes and the ups and downs of the story. So I will, create challenges or roadblocks, and then I have to really think about how, based on the backstory of the character I have in my head, how does that person react, or does something change their mind about how they're going to react, or someone, and it is that, like you said, is that realistic? Would they do that in the time frame that the book takes place? And so yeah, there are a lot of things to think about when you're trying to create those personalities.
And do you know, like from the very beginning, when you first start writing a book, whether this is going to be just a standalone or this is going to become a series?
I don't always know that. Usually when I start a short story, it ends up becoming a series. That's kind of how my progression has worked. I've been challenged to write short stories and anthologies, and so I'll come up with one character, and then I'll just love that character and can't let them go. In the romances, because I do like doing the standalones, but they're connected, so they know each other in the different books, and then you're able to see a little glimpse of the other characters from the other books in each book. So in this one, I did start with the Perfect Romance series. I did start with a short story, and then, but it's not in the same group, but I do bring them back. I do bring the characters from the short story. I do bring them back a little bit in my head. Like the end point would be to show like the full story of the characters in that short story, but I haven't figured them out yet, so I just keep writing other characters.
I guess that's one way to do it, right? Now we've kind of skirted it for most of the conversation here, but why don't you tell us about the series and where you are now? No spoilers. You don't have to give out any spoilers, anything like that. So, but tell us about the whole series from start to what you're up to.
Right. So Perfect, the first book, is Chloe's story. She's an Asian American. She grew up with a single mom. And like I said, the first book has that alternate ending. You see her in college and her boyfriend comes and proposes and they have their happily ever after. And then in the second part, she chooses not to stay with that person. She decides she wants to go to Paris and get into the fashion industry. And you have several. She goes to Paris in the third section, and the fourth and fifth section, she ends up in New York City, which, but two different versions of her life. So by the end, she's 30. So you follow her all the way from age 20 to 30. And as she makes different choices, then you can see how her life played out. And for me, and I called it Perfect because I was thinking about when I was young, I had this idea that my life was just going to progress in a certain way. Like, okay, I was going to go to college and I was going to graduate in 4 years, right, and I was going to get the job and I was going to meet the perfect person, and then we would get the cars and then we would have kids. And my life did not happen that way at all. Like, it just didn't. But I really had that expectation. I mean, maybe it's just what I saw around me, and so when it didn't go that way, it was a big jolt. Like, wow, okay, well, this is a pivot. And so I thought about, and I see people challenged or sad, and maybe I want to fix it a little bit, but I also wanted to say, hey, look, you may have a pivot, you may go a different way, but there is probably going to be a person for you maybe on that different path, right? And it may look different, but it will be perfect for you at that time, given the path of your life, right? So I think I wanted to kind of play with that idea and to show also that maybe we don't know what is perfect for you may not be perfect for me, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
That makes sense.
But to get back to the characters, so yes. In Perfect Always, Chloe does and have her happily ever after with the person I decided should be her happily ever after, because in the first book there are 5 love interests. But it was funny because I thought coming off of Perfect, I thought I would write each of the love interests and what their whole story would look like. And then when I got finished with the first one, I couldn't give her a different story. Like, I loved that story too much to give her another alternate story. So I said, well, she's good now. Chloe's good. Right. And so that's when I decided to bring in her other friends and tell their stories. So Bree is an African-American character who grew up in Kentucky, and As Close to Perfect is her story. And then the fourth book, Perfect Office Pact, Mira is Hispanic, and I told her story. She's still living in Lexington, Kentucky. For the fifth book, Perfect Secrets, we come out to Denver, Colorado, which is where I live. So that was fun. I had all my readers for my newsletter vote on where she lived, what were her hobbies, what genre of books she liked to read. So that was a lot of fun that they got to choose a little bit about her personality. And
that's great.
But they chose Denver, so that worked for me. That was a lot of fun to have that.
It's a good frame of reference.
Right. So Elle and Tanner are the main characters in Perfect Secrets, and Elle has a big breakup. It was unexpected at the end of college, and she decides to start a new life, and she comes to Denver and gets a new job and meets someone at her workplace. So it's a little bit of a workplace romance there.
Nice. I like this. This is a good. I like these kind of stories too. So I'll be honest with you. So who's one character that you've created as Maria Jane who stayed with you long after the book was finished?
They all do a little bit. And maybe it's still Chloe. Maybe it's still that first character, because she was so raw, and maybe her personality is more like mine too, I think. She's more reserved, more thoughtful, very goal-oriented. And so I think maybe that's why she sticks with me a little bit too.
good. That's good. I had a follow up to that, and I can't remember what it was. It just flipped out of my head. So June 2nd, you released the book. How's it been received so far? Any reviews? Any comments? How's it been?
Good. Yes, all my ARC readers have come back with thumbs up.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's going great.
So you're moving along. So what's the next project? What's the next stage in the series?
So the next character is Danny, and she's a little bit younger than the other characters have been. She's right out of college. She's going to be 22, and the working title is my not so perfect cop. So I'm not going to do a dual POV in this one. We're just going to get Danny's perspective, but I'm loving having that unknown, even though it's a first person telling you what's going on. The character doesn't tell you everything in the beginning. So I'm loving kind of, and it's not a mystery, but there's some mysterious parts of it, I guess. So, and it'll be the first time I have to figure out how to write the love interest. Like, she's totally in love with him and has been in love with him since her freshman year of college. And I know she is, and I can feel she is, but I have to make sure that he's a good enough guy, right?
You sound like mom.
Right. He seems like a good enough guy that people think she should love him and not leave him. So that's where I'm having my stumbling blocks right now.
Do you feel like that? Like as you create these characters that you have to protect them in certain ways, almost like a motherly kind of feeling towards them?
I do. And it's funny because I was in that situation in college. I totally fell for this guy. And all my friends were like, what do you see in him? And I was always like, I don't know. And he ended up not being a good guy. Not surprisingly, right? But I do want this character. I do want this character to eventually be a good guy for her. So I have to show a little bit of his growth too, I think.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And I'm not surprised that you would feel that kind of motherly or parental protective feeling for these are your babies. These are
right.
These are your creations. I mean, of course you would. That would make sense. So when readers finish reading one of your novels as Maria Jane, what's the feeling or maybe lesson that you hope that they carry with them after they close the book?
I don't know if I really teach tons of lessons, but I think one of them is just hope. And I have a girlfriend, and she's 30-ish or young 30s, and she keeps telling me, write a book for me, write my happily ever after. And she hasn't had her happily ever after yet. So I keep thinking, and I keep telling her, there is a happily ever after out there. You may not know what it looks like yet. You may not know who it is yet. You may not know what it's going to be. But maybe, that's why everyone, as you said, is drawn to romance, because they see that happily ever after and they can hope that for themselves. And every book has different personalities of characters. So you get
right.
different perspectives on whether it's race, religion, fitting in, and all of those type of things.
Now, you may not set out to teach a lesson or anything like that in your book, but you never know. Someone may pick it up, and they may pick something up out of that you never intended for them to get, which is why I love to ask that question whenever I have the opportunity to. It's important. I think everybody pulls something out of it that is relatable to them. And
right.
I've seen your work. I've read some of your work, and I'll tell you, it's really I enjoy it. I do. I absolutely do. And I think you're incredibly gifted when it comes to this. I'm not even going to use the word talent. I think you have a gift for it. So you have a gift for storytelling, and I really enjoy your work. I do.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it feels like a gift, and that's why I've kind of put all my books under this brand of finding the magic, because I feel like I did not expect to have this ability to write stories, and I want to kind of inspire people to find their own magic, right? And I feel like my characters are finding that for themselves, and then hopefully I'm sharing that, a little bit of hope, courage, inspiration.
I got you. Totally got you. Now, just to pivot away from that for a second, because you mentioned, branding and such, the publishing world changed dramatically over the last 10 years or so. What opportunities exist today for writers that didn't exist when you first started?
I think it's super easy. I mean, I am not a super tech person, but if I can do a podcast, like that means anybody could do a podcast. And I don't do my own formatting, but because that's just I would get so nervous about it being right. So I pay someone to get it right for me, but that's not even hard now. Like creating the electronic copy of your book and uploading it to the platforms are clicks, right? So
Right.
I think the entry it's very accessible. I don't know the words that I want for that, but yeah, it's so easy. So it's so easy to share, your story with anyone.
Yeah, no, I could agree with that.
It's exciting.
I could agree with that. I've never written anything that got published, so I don't have a personal reference to it. But I would imagine now it's probably a lot easier. But one of the things that it's or a concern that has come up lately is, of course, AI, and with AI streaming content, streaming entertainment, all the distractions, all competes for somebody's attention. What do you think keeps books relevant?
And maybe I live in the author world and I surround myself with people who are readers, maybe, but I don't see it going away. Like people have been storytelling for, since the beginning of humanity, around the campfire, or passing down these legends and tales and histories. And then, when books came about, you hear people say, oh, people will forget stories because now they're written down and we're not going to be able to remember them. I just think it's, then we have electronic books and then we have audiobooks. And I think it's just another medium. And if people enjoy reading AI, I don't diss anyone for enjoying that, but I think really true storytelling, I can tell the difference if I pick something up and then it's AI produced versus being human produced. So I think, people are just going to make their choice, and hopefully, all of us creators will still be employed for 10 years from now.
Well, I think so. I think that nothing will ever replace a book. I think that, especially in the digital age, and you're seeing that in a lot with the music industry also. You're seeing people going back to other forms of audio, right? For example, I've been noticing this, and I'd say over the last year maybe, this big push to go back to vinyl records, And you think about it, I saw a meme not too long ago, and and I don't give a lot of credit to memes, for truth and understanding and things like that, but this one actually made sense to me, and it was talking about how my generation, I'm Gen X, we had vinyl, and then you moved us from vinyl to cassette tapes, and then from cassette tapes, and then it was to CDs, and now CDs gave way to downloads, and now you need a subscription to listen to music. You can't really get it anywhere, and that's why a lot of people are going back to the what it used to be, and going back to the vinyl because now you own it. It's yours. You have it. No one can shut it off on you. You know what I mean? And I one of my concerns with digital books, 'cause I love books. I have a fairly extensive library in the other room. I love to read books. I love to hold books in my hand. I love the feel of the page. And maybe it sounds weird to some people, but
No, yeah.
I love the feel of the page. I love the smell of the paper. I love, especially old books, get that musty kind of, I love that. And I love to be able to flip pages. Can't stand scrolling on a screen to read a book. It drives me crazy. But the other thing is that book is mine. That's in my hand. Someday someone may decide, hey, you know what? We shouldn't let people read this book, and flip a switch, and that book, that digital book that you paid for is gone. It's not there anymore because you don't really own it.
Right.
You're leasing it basically. So that's why I don't think creators, that authors, writers, you're never going to go anywhere as long as you have the ability to print books. Books are the thing you have to have. Maybe I sound antiquated. I don't know, but
No, because if I want to go back and read a book, you're right. Like it may not be there if I don't have my device and my subscription and all of those things. That book may not be there anymore. My husband tried to throw away I'm a big fan of vampires, but he tried to throw away my Twilight Blu-rays, and I was like, no, you can't throw I mean, I still rely on something to play them, right? So, but I have I have 2 copies of the Twilight book series. I have them in paperback and I have them in hardback. I have the white version. I actually have 3 copies. So yeah, I'm a collector of books as well, but I want to be able to go back to them and I don't want them to be gone.
Yeah. I have this beautiful copy of Bram Stoker's unabridged Dracula.
Okay.
And it's like I've read it I don't know how many times, cover to cover. I love that story. I love the book. I don't know what it is. It's written different. It's written from the point of if people don't know the book, it's written from the point of journal entries. So it's very, very interesting to read. You got to get used to it. It's not written like traditional book would be, but it's great. I love it, and I look at my bookshelf and I see it sitting there, and I see that beautiful leather binding with the gold, and it's just absolutely beautiful to look at. And then I see a copy of it on a digital screen. It's like,
Yeah.
So
have you read the prequel to that DeCool, Stoker, and J.D. Barker wrote yet? Dracul is the name of it.
No, I haven't seen that one yet.
Oh yeah, so it's been around for about 5 years, I think. But I interviewed J.D. Barker, and so after I interviewed him, I went and bought the book. But so it's written in the same style, though. They followed that same style.
Well, that's fantastic. I love that. That's great. I'm gonna have to check that out for sure. All right. Well, Tricia, Maria, we're at that point here. We're gonna wrap it up. So, who is someone that you respect right now, and what are they doing that inspires you?
Wow, I might go to Mickey because Mickey has been amazing. Like I said, I just released a book and he has helped me so much with getting on the show, getting on lots of shows, getting lots of interviews. And he is just the most, I guess, respectful as well as professional. Yeah. And just all around good human. So I'm going to shout him out today.
Outstanding. That's good. Mickey is a good guy. I like Mickey. I have a lot of respect for him and for what he does. We mostly only converse via email, but he's a great guy. I like him.
Don't give him your number. He'll call you all the time.
He does have my
number.
No,
I love talking to him. So,
I don't think he likes me that much. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I know he's going to watch this. He's going to be like, But he actually talks to Angela a little bit more frequent. And for those who may not know, Angela is one of the producers of our show, and she's like the main one. So he talks to her a lot more than he talks to me directly. But yeah, I have a lot of respect for him. He's a great guy, and that's a great choice. I like that very, very, very much. All right. So where can we go to find out more about your books? Where can we get them and your podcast?
Right. So my website is triciacopeland.com or mariajaneromance.com. So either one will get you there. And my podcast is Finding the Magic Book Podcast, and it's all on all the channels. And really, it's a podcast for readers. So I talk to authors about their characters, their plots, their books, their series, all of that fun stuff for readers to find new books. So
outstanding.
Yeah.
I don't think I have the link for the Maria Jane. So if you could just shoot that over to me, I'd appreciate it so I can make sure I get it into the show notes. All right. Yep. All right. Well, Tricia, thank you. This was great. I love talking to you. You're a breath of fresh air. I appreciate you. And I really enjoy your work. And thank you so much for taking the time out to be with us here tonight. And I'm going to throw you backstage. I'm going to wrap everything up, and then I'll just touch base with you before we say adios. All right.
Same to you. Thanks so much, Joe.
You betcha. I'll see you in a second. All right. Well, Tricia Copeland, Maria Jane, make sure you check out her books. They're really very good. And I don't say that about a lot of the authors that I read. And I'm not just saying that because she's sitting here, in front of us. But the truth of the matter is, she's very talented. It's a gift. It truly is. And she tells great stories, and they're very compelling stories. They really pull you in, and you do feel like you have become part of that world and the characters that she's developed. So make sure you check her out. Check out the page. Check out our website. And get the books. Get the books. Very, very important too. Just as final thoughts here, one of the themes that keep coming up throughout our conversation was the idea of finding the magic, and she's mentioned it a few times during the talk. Not magic, though, in the fantasy sense, but in everyday life. The courage to try something new, the discipline to keep creating, the willingness to put your work out into the world, even when there are no guarantees that it's going to be, quote unquote, successful. Now, whether you're writing a book or starting a business, learning a skill, or simply trying to become a better person or a better version of yourself, success usually begins with taking that first step and then continuing when most people would stop. So, of course, again, thank you to Tricia Copeland for joining us tonight, and also to the many, many, many readers as Maria Jane for joining us here tonight. Now, folks, thank you for you being here tonight. We wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, and of course, we wouldn't be able to do this without our producing team, our executive producers, Wayne Rankin, Rosanna Rankin, Carolina Jimenez, Angela Watuski, and John Seeley joining the crowd. Now, if you would like to find out how more you can help out, you can do that very simply by heading over to our website, joerooz.com/support. That's joerooz.com/support. And when you get there, you'll see all the different ways that you can help us out. Honestly, without the support of our producing team, wouldn't be able to do too much of what we have been doing. And so we really do appreciate them. That's why we give them the shout out on every show. We include them in all of our show notes. And if you want to get a part of that, joerooz.com/support. You'll see we have one-time donations, any amount, recurring donations, any amount. And then, of course, we have all our producer tiers, which are recurring monthly donations. You can set yourself up on one of those things, and we would love to add you to the list. And by the way, just an update here, our paperwork has been submitted to IMDb. So all the folks that are listed on the show as producers, executive producers, associate producer, are all going to get an official credit on IMDb as a producer that you could actually put on your resume if you like, and say that you produced a show, a podcast, or however you'd like to phrase it. So I think that's really neat. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm just waiting for the approvals on that, and hopefully when they come through, I'll let you guys know as soon as we possibly can. All right. So again, joerooz.com/support, joerooz.com/support. All right. I think that's going to do it for us for tonight, folks. Don't forget, head over to the website, joerooz.com, joerooz.com. Send us over a message. Let us know what you think. And again, folks, thanks for being here tonight. Make Texas independent again. Go podcasting. Keep a steady stride. And don't forget, always, always, always keep talking. Have a great night, folks. We'll see you next time.